What's up, fiends? Welcome to the Big Nasty. My name is Lucard, and I am joined by the one and only Matt from Pugwall 316. How are you, Matt?
I am excellent, my friend. Yeah, I'm really excited to delve into this film.
Yeah,
That's the right word, excited.
Isn't it a lovely day for revenge?
Oh, it's lovely. This Disney feature that we're going to watch together and discuss.
So, in this new show, we are going to dive into the infamous Video Nasties list. So, what is a Video Nasty, you ask? So, in the early 80s in the UK, there were no certification system in place for home videos. So, movies were released uncensored. So, this, of course, caused a big outrage and panic of sorts with certain people. Because these films were criticized for their violent content, and they feared that these tapes would basically deprave the public and kind of corrupt them. So, to assist the local authorities, the director of public prosecutions released a list of 72 films that the office believed violated the Obscene Publications Act of 1959. So Matt and I have decided to tackle as many of these as we can get a hold of and see how nasty they really are.
Oh. as many as we can handle.
yeah. So was that a good explanation of the Video Nasties?
Yeah, for sure. I was just thinking as you were saying it, like it kind of passed me by at the time because my mum and dad were not very good with technology, so we didn't get a VHS player until well into past that kind of period of time,
Gotcha.
because and almost at the point where things are kind of settled into an actual system, rather than just kind of people copying and sending things, and the guy that you knew in the pub getting you a VHS tape. That idea, like we've said before when we've talked about it, haven't we? We've said about lists and like give a horror fan or give a film fan or just give any geek, and I'm including myself and yourself in that, give us a list and we'll try and tick off every one on that list, because if we don't, that is worse than death. So
yes.
Yeah, they made a fatal error of anything illicit that you can't get your hands on, you want to get your hands on it. So I definitely had friends. I know friends at school when I was in primary school, so we're talking below 10 years old, who were getting hold of these and sharing them around. And now, as an adult, thinking about the films that me and you've discussed already, and thinking that like a 9, 8, 7-year-old is just kind of sharing these around, it maybe preys a little bit on the kind of innocence of the parents, just to not have that understanding of what it is.
Right.
And they're just kind of, so yeah, it's exciting that we're going to discuss it. I think in America, I'm really interested in how American people view the Video Nasties. I think they find it quite interesting and quite exciting because of all the clips you may have seen of the news reports and things like that. People getting a little bit overexcited on the news about it, and very serious politicians making points with it. So what's your kind of relationship with it? When were you aware of it? Let's put it that way. When were you first aware of the Video Nasty?
I was a teenager. I was probably like 14 or so when I discovered that this existed. And like you said, I immediately was like, I have to watch all of these movies now.
Yeah. So even that kid.
Yeah, even as a kid, I was like, okay, this is perfect. Let me start. So, so I found a couple here and there. And so back then it was pre-internet, you can get everything to snap your fingers like it is now. No streaming, nothing like that. So you had to go hunt for these guys. And this was still in the VHS days.
They weren't in 4K then, no, the ones that you were watching. They weren't in
No,
4K
no,
UHD.
They're all
No.
like 160p. Yeah.
And they're like copied from friend to friend to friend.
Yes, I've had a few of those.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was in secondary school and people were doing the tape copies, I'll always remember the copy of this is a bit later, obviously, but the copy of Basic Instinct that went around the school. And like, it was quite a big school, like 1,000 kids. Obviously, the boys are wanting to watch the Basic Instinct. And when you get hold of that copy, or you copy that copy, you go, there's certain parts of that film that you can't actually make out what it is because it's been played, rewind, played, pause, rewind, played, pause, rewind. So I'd imagine it was exactly the same with the video Nasties. There would be certain parts, whether it be the goriest bit to try and scare your friend, or the sort of most salacious bit to spend a bit of alone time with, then I guess that would be equally almost impossible to look at or see. So yeah, it's mad. It's mad to think that kind of moral panic shot over to America. But I guess you have your own moral panic in the 80s anyway, with the whole, the big evangelical churches cracking down on things like Dungeons and Dragons and Satanic Panic and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, heavy metal, the little labels on the records, and so like our version of getting something from you like that would be being the first kid in school to get hold of parental advisory sticker on a rap album and having that tape. I remember a kid having that on you used to have the tape decks that were just like ones you see in a police procedural, where it's just like those. And I remember a kid playing, I think it was Ice-T. And he was running around playing Ice-T around the playground while the teacher was like chasing him, trying to get the tape player off him. So yeah, we got that from you. We got that from you.
Same principle. Same
principle, but probably not as shocking as some of these. But I guess these are also quite eclectic. They're from all around the world. I mean, people think that they're British. Some people might mistakenly think that all the films are British. There's very few of them that are actually British.
They're very few.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any.
Maybe that's about.
Yeah.
But no, they're mostly they're kind of from all over the place, and they range from straight horror to exploitation to just all kinds of things. It's not just one type of movie either. Now the majority of them are horror related, but there are a few that aren't. Like I Miss You, Hugs and Kisses. Like
I Miss You Too, Albert. What's the name of the film?
Exactly.
You can put that in later.
Which we'll probably cover because I think we both have access to that one, so we'll probably cover that one eventually. But yeah, for our first foray into this nasty list, we decided to go big. So we're going to start with the notorious Day of the Woman, or better known as I Spit on Your Grave.
I Spit on Your Grave. Yeah,
sounds like a feel like that skit, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I was going to say it reminds me a bit of like maybe something would say in A Princess Bride. I spit on your grave. Yeah, like very with a flourish. It's a strange insult, isn't it? It's like I spit on your grave.
Yes. So of course it was originally named Day of the Woman. And it was released as Day of the Woman in 1978. It wasn't until 1980 where it was renamed I Spit on Your Grave by distributor Jerry Gross, because that was kind of like the height of the grindhouse exploitation era here in the States. So he thought that would bring in more people, and sure enough, it did.
Yeah, it did.
So
it did. It's in the book that I was reading about Video Nasties, the big companion to it. A lot of it is about distributors changing the names of things or overusing the same actors or whatever it is because they've to kind of follow a certain trend. I guess it's the 70s and 80s equivalent of like looking at Google Trends or something and seeing what's or picking something via AI to make a perfectly clickbaity kind of title. because there's no spitting in graves. Not that I can remember. No, there's no graves.
There's not even a grave.
Yeah. But it works so much better. It makes it memorable. And that's what it is. It's that quick, like you say, quick hook, get people into the drive-ins, get people buying the VHSs or whatever it is. You got to hook those people. If it's not got a big star in it, then how else are you going to do it? So it makes sense.
So I figured we can start off by kind of just going through the movie without giving everything away, and then we'll get into spoilers after.
Okay.
So we'll do a nice little disclaimer when we start into the spoilers. But okay, so it stars Camille Keaton, who is Buster Keaton's great niece.
Yeah. I think she's great in it. I really do think she's fantastic.
She's something else in this movie. She really is.
Yeah, she's really good in this original. She's got. Also, as well, I think her opinions on the film maybe might need to be tempered with the fact that she was married to the director. So I think a lot of her. But
not at the time of the movie was made. She married.
Not at the time of the movie. No, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So I don't know whether when coming to his defense about the themes and things like that, because in films like this, you often think, oh, I bet that person had a terrible time. Like Last House on the Left, like the actresses in that had a terrible, awful time, and it kind of tempers your interest in the film to a certain degree, or your kind of feelings towards the film, because you think, oh, what a shame that they almost went through some of these things for real. Whereas in this, Camille Keaton's always had a very not party line, but a very straight line about how she feels about the themes of it and what it means. And she certainly has an artistic understanding of the film. She's not just like, I'll be in anything. Right. Certainly at this point making this film. So I think that's important to kind of know. And also, like we said, she's really, really good in this film. In so many ways. She's got that. She feels like an academic. She feels like someone who's smart and resourceful and confident and sort of determined, which plays into the film in a really good way. So she's got. It would be very hard, I think, to just have anybody in this. Any kind of just sort of almost like slasher bait actress or actor in it. She's excellent. Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree. So for the people that haven't seen it, I'm gonna do a very short synopsis for you.
Okay.
So we have Jennifer Hills. She's a writer. She's writing her first novel. So she goes off basically to the countryside, for rest, relaxation, and to write her novel. She's never been there before. It's a whole brand new thing. And she ends up stopping to get gas. In the very beginning, she stops and get gas at this little local place near the cabin. And that's when all these guys kind of see her and they're like, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. So she goes off and she's doing her thing. She's writing her stuff. And then each male character kind of comes in one at a time and kind of meets her. And one day the four of them decide to get together and go basically assault her in a very, very lengthy assault scene, which we'll get into in a minute. And then the rest of the movie deals with the aftermath of that and how she deals with it.
Yeah.
Now that's the non-spoiler review.
Yeah, that doesn't give. I mean, I think that's even the sort of some of the titles and things that they've put and some of the things that are on the boxes and stuff. You can definitely get an idea of. It's quite a straightforward, simple story in lots of ways, but put together in a very creative, challenging, super challenging, really challenging for me to watch, and not. It's not like a kind of shoddily put together film by any stretch of the imagination, which is really interesting because I know I keep harking to the most recent one, with the original director. Again, much like I said, it feels like she's a different person. It feels like he's a completely different director who doesn't know how to direct.
Yes. And so we're talking about I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, which is the official sequel directed by is it Meir? Is that how he pronounces it?
I would say, yeah, Meir Zarchi. Yeah.
Meir Zarchi. Okay, so that's the director, Meir Zarchi. He finally came back to the series and directed a sequel with Camille Keaton, and it is terrible.
Oh man, it's like Birdemic levels of
I mean, both of us tried to watch it, and it was we just no.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the original here.
Yes, the film we're talking about.
Yes. So this movie came out 45 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Do you think it still has the same impact as back then?
Yes,
I do.
100%. I mean, for so many reasons. The main one being when you make a low budget film like this, and you're almost, not by accident, but just by budgetary reasons, making something that feels very real, but it feels like a documentary because you know it's not glossy. It doesn't have a Hollywood feel. Even if you compare it to the location, it's the same location, isn't it, as Friday the 13th Part 2. So in terms of how that looks, and Friday the 13th series, a lot of those being a big production company making a film on a smaller budget, it still looks more glossy than this, but this looks great in a lot of ways, but it feels real, which with the subject matter makes it, to go back to what you originally said, does it hold up and does it still shock, or does it still have that impression on you? I think it's one of the reasons is because of that. It feels like I shouldn't be watching it, you know, in a way. It's really hard from the moment things take a turn, let's say, that period of time, and I think there's a conversation to be had about how long that period of time is compared to the sort of the final act, and there's loads of things to discuss about that, and things that I'm not necessarily got any answers for. But the moment that happens, it's really hard to watch, and you watch it thinking, this. I am really hoping that there's going to be an elongated period of horrible revenge.
Yeah.
So
as you're watching this, also to add to the fact that about what you were saying earlier, there's also no music.
And that makes
it
feel
makes
more real.
It feel even realer than watching a movie, because you're like, you know, it seems like you're just peeking into the life of this lady, and I think that really adds to it. There's a little bit of music, but it's on, like, there's an intention behind the music.
And or she puts music on, you know, or you know, in different places, so like that stands out more as well. And that actually, some of the things she says and does, and the things that it's actually really good at building her character. You know, she's an educated person with quite refined taste, and that's really jarring against the setting where she is. She's like she's clearly intelligent as well. It's not just like pretty lady in a log cabin. Like, she has to be quite confident to go there on her own anyway. Like, I would have, for me to go and just randomly rent out a remote place in the woods, I'm not even sure I would want to do that. You feel quite isolated and vulnerable, and particularly in that period of time, you know, in the sort of the 70s, it was probably even more unusual for a single woman to be doing that. So yeah, there's you have fear on her behalf quite quickly into the film, even when completely normal things are happening.
Yeah. So, okay. All right, so let's kind of go through it a little bit. It's not going to be like a total deep dive or anything, but we're going to discuss a lot of it.
Yeah.
So spoilers from now on. So just in case.
Yeah.
All right. So so Jennifer Hills is from New York, and she's traveling to Park Hill Lane. That's the name of the place. She stops at the gas station for fuel, and we find out she's renting a summer house on the river, and that's when we meet most of our assailants, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're kind of playing a game in the background. It's like throwing a knife at the ground.
really teenage boys, but they're clearly grown men. It's just like, they just got nothing to do. Yeah.
Exactly. So she arrives at the house or cabin, whatever, and she immediately goes skinny dipping. I thought that was interesting. So it's like, okay, well, this is going to be one of those movies, right? So she goes, she unpacks her clothes, and she ends up finding a gun in a drawer. So this is like a leftover gun that someone left in the drawer. I thought that's
Airbnb, people leave things behind, guns. Yeah.
So she closes it up, and there's a knock at the door, and there's a grocery delivery from a guy named Matthew. Sorry, Matt. Sorry.
I know. I was like, please let him be the only good guy in the film. But well, he ain't. No. Yeah, I mean, he's the closest we have to a good guy out of that group, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
He's other than her. Obviously, she has the worst time in the whole film. He's exploited and manipulated, and not in he's so vulnerable that he can be positioned to do whatever they want. So that's also quite disturbing in its own way, isn't it? I find it really hard to watch people who are vulnerable in films being exploited. I just think that's it raises a sort of a moral ire in you, and you get quite like, just leave that person alone, because he wouldn't have done those things if he didn't know those guys. He'd have just carried on delivering things to her house and going to the shop and doing his job. But it's like literally as simple as, we'll be your friend, or this is what you should be doing to be one of the gang.
Which also kind of brings up another topic that I think people don't talk about with this movie, is that about friendships and how certain friendships can manipulate you into doing things that you don't want to do.
Yeah, and male friendships particularly, I think, and like a kind of one-upmanship of masculinity, and kind of being for want of a better phrase, like the alpha of it, and that kind of thing. It's something that hasn't gone away. It just manifests itself in a different way. And like, for example, I was thinking about these guys, and I was thinking that a lot of their behaviors, and I'm not making, like, you are responsible for your choice. Like, Matthew is the most vulnerable character other than her in the film, and she's actually not as vulnerable as him to a certain degree, because she gets her own back, and she has power over them ultimately. But he is also responsible for what he's done. He's also responsible for his actions, regardless of what's brought him to those choices. Like, from my point of view, it is quite black and white with certain things that people do. Yeah. But when you talk about those men, and they're kind of just aimless, powerless men with nothing going on, and I think also how quickly they are to objectify her. But I think as well, there's a lot of, like, in all of these films, I think there's a lot of like kind of Vietnam dehumanization, the things that people might have seen in Vietnam, might have experienced in Vietnam, might have talked about and brought back with them, with no aftercare, no support, no way to deal with some of those horrors. And I mean horror in like the proper sense of horror, like mental horrors and torture. So I think that played into so many of these films. But also, I guess you see it in Italian films as well. They seem to be more extreme. But this one, and I guess like Last House on the Left and films like that, it just seemed to be this period of time where there's a lot about dehumanization, just like people wanting somebody else to be absolutely degraded as much as they can degrade them. And that is, for me, is one of the scariest things to watch, is somebody who doesn't value another human being. They won't just kill them because that's too simple and not personal. They will break them down emotionally and physically. And in this film, there's a lot of like shouting at her when they're attacking her and degrading her verbally and like making her feel, or trying to make her feel that, I guess they crush so much out of her, but not everything. You know, there's a little bit left there, isn't there, in her that is just motivated to. So I guess when she says it's not misogynist, it empowers women, I guess it's saying that she doesn't give in when probably most people would. Like the strength of her character is out of this world. Mentally strong. Also, some strange things I would say in the film when she's doing some of the revenge things where you think, I don't think she could physically do that. But like the thing with the part with Matthew and the tree, I'm not sure the physics of that actually work.
Yeah. In theory, it does, but
does it? Right.
It's a little questionable. Yeah, but I mean, I guess technically,
I'm okay to let that go. Like, I'm not somebody who needs everything in the film to make
perfect
exact.
sense. Right.
Yeah. But I just thought I'd mention that because I was just like, she's so resourceful, isn't she? She's like MacGyver in it, and some of the.
She ends up getting that way. Yes.
Yeah. We've jumped ahead a bit here, but
we did. But for the people that have seen it, they kind of know what we're talking about.
That's true. Yeah. It's so like I'm really interested in your kind of take on the build up. Like, is it too long? Not enough? Matthew comes over, he's delivering things. We need to set the scene, don't we?
Yeah. I actually think it was well paced, and I thought.
Me too.
I thought it worked because it introduced everybody. It kind of gave everybody their own, little bit of character, and then when they attack, it's like what the hell are you guys doing? It's like wait, what?
Goes from 0 to 100 so quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And like that, she's writing a monologue, and it's like a beautiful scene, and she's writing, and I think you can hear her what she's writing, can't you? Over the writing.
I think she does the voiceover.
Yeah, and then that buzzing of the boat is so ominous, like the circling of like, oh man, yeah. It's that, like you say, it escalates like clicking the fingers. It's like you do something so bad, and then it just goes, well, we've done something bad, so we might as well do the worst things we could possibly do.
Maybe.
Which is an interesting way of. It's like, well, we're already going to get in trouble, and then we've got so far in trouble. Oh, well, we're going to have to kill her,
After Matthew meets Jennifer. He meets up with the boys, and he claims he got a peek at her chest.
Oh, it's difficult then to try and.
Yeah, I was like, what's word should I use here? So the boys go fishing, and they start talking about broads. Broads. And so we learn that, of course, Matthew has a crush on Jennifer and whatnot. And then two of them decide to go and kind of start harassing her. I guess she's kind of chilling, like on her hammock, right? She's just she's relaxing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that thing. Certainly, Matthew's like, they're encouraging him to go and be a pain and, like you say, harass her. But like, just because somebody is nice to you or shows you some attention, has a toll you, doesn't mean that they find you attractive. But obviously, Matthew has, learning difficulties.
Yeah,
that's very, very clear from the offset. she's very patient with him, but also quite like friendly, and but it only takes them making a suggestion that she might like him that way for him to be like 100% on board with it, because that's how his mind works. And that's very very manipulative of them, and very mean, and almost that you're not sure at this point whether the aim or the intention of this is just to laugh at him and just make fun of him.
Right.
Like the intention isn't necessarily to ruin her life or mess with her, but just let's see what stupid things we can get him to do. Maybe they've done that before. Maybe they do things with him all the time. Like he's on the periphery of the group and they just want to make him do things for their amusement because it makes them feel like a bit of control over someone.
Yeah. So do you think that if Matthew had a different set of friends, do you think this would have happened?
No, 100% not. I don't think so. I think he would just go about his everyday life doing the same things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that just shows, often when there's horrible murders or you hear of young people doing things, why it's often in pairs, it is like that second person's just been often corralled into doing it or manipulated into doing it by the more, what's the word? The sort of the more dominant of the friendship, the kind of more confident or egotistical of the friendship, and there's a kind of little bit of almost like a hero worship in the relationship.
Yeah.
And Matthew like thinks these guys are amazing, doesn't he? He like wants to be like them.
Oh, for sure.
But the viewer knows, and like this is the thing: the viewer knows that these guys are all total losers. Like you were saying, they're just hanging around, kicking a can or throwing a knife into a floor, or later on getting told off by their wives, or getting told to get on with the work, or whatever it is. They're not in control of anything in their lives, really. No. They just turn up and like literally the top guy in the group. He is a gas station attendant, which is nothing wrong with that as a job, but he's literally, that's the top status in their group. The others just people who hang around with the gas station attendant. That's their status.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's a sad little microcosm of people, and you wonder what they've been through and what their lives have been like before they've got to this point. But the moment that they act on the things that frustrate them and use that as an excuse to ruin somebody else's life, that's the moment you should lose any sympathy for them.
Right. Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Like, it's a shame. You may have been in a war. You may have had a horrible life. You may have. However, she didn't do any of those things to you. Like, she hasn't.
It's completely uncalled for on every single level ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think really it's not like we need to explain that really. For I think anybody who watches that, there are definitely people who watch things just to watch extreme things and say that they watch extreme things without any real, like, with a kind of T-shirt that's almost says like "I like extreme things" written on it. But the majority of people, I'd imagine, would watch this film and see the intention behind the film. It's not just made to be. It's not like a sort of like a straight up horror splatter, cheapo, no thought film. It is actually got a real message and moral behind it. I know Zarchi actually helped a young woman who'd been attacked, and that was the inspiration behind it.
Yes. So I was going to bring that up later, but yeah, supposedly this sort of really happened to someone, and the director was involved in helping her overcome it. Yeah. So
and the police were so useless. Is that right? If I'm remembering it
correctly, I believe that's what I read. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was so frustrated. Yeah.
Especially in the 70s. Yeah, I'm really not shocked.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise you. I mean, it doesn't surprise me in the UK either. There's, I guess, there's a combination of things. They can be. They did a documentary in the UK years ago where they went undercover as a new police officer, and there's a really good book I read about it. And the endemic racism, sexism, and of culture of it, but also the how a lot of that came from being really, in a similar way to talking about this guy, really frustrated because they're stretched to their limits. There's not enough police officers, so they end up hating people rather than helping people, because they're just literally on their last nerve, kind of thing. So with that all in mind, that is a really good way of. You don't need to know that to understand the film, I don't think, but it helps. It helps add context that this is somebody who felt really pissed off about something that happened, and I imagine he was just like, if that woman could get her own back, what are the most grisly and pointed, literally pointed ways of doing so? And in that sense, mission accomplished.
Oh, very much, very much. Yes, and she even uses some edged weapons as well.
She does. She uses some edged weapons. This is where the link flashes up. But it's she does, and she uses them very proficiently and creatively, cleverly. She uses their own weaknesses against them. Big
time, yeah.
Yeah,
we're getting slightly ahead of ourselves, though.
We've been getting ahead of ourselves since the moment we started.
pretty much. So sorry, guys. This is
all right.
An open discussion on this crazy
open discussion. Yeah, exactly.
So so she's back to writing her book, and she's also reading a book which I found to be quite interesting. It's called The Testimony of the Men. No, of the Testimony of Two Men.
Oh.
And this is right before all the stuff goes down. Like, this is like the day before. So the next day, the two guys in the boat come back and harass her again on the lake, on the river. It's the river. And they basically get out, and this is where all the crazy stuff starts happening.
Yes.
And let me turn on my fan because I'm hot as hell. There we go.
If it makes the same sound as that boat, then I'm gonna run. Because I found that like almost like an insect or something, just buzzing around them when you hear that.
It is. Yeah. That boat noise is very.
And it goes away, and it comes back, and it goes away, and it comes back, and it's like, and even later,
it's very much like an insect. That's like a gnat or something.
Yeah,
you're right.
And like they start off being annoying, but they end up being like deadly, deadly pterodactyl or something. That's a bad example, but yeah.
So, and this is only 22 minutes into the movie, by the way. So
really, okay,
it's only 22 minutes. Yeah, all this stuff happens in 22 minutes. So now the assault begins. We're not going to go into the graphic details of it because
No, but again, I did time. I did time that. I got 25 minutes of assault. So if we got 20,
it's a 25-minute long assault scene by 4 different men to this woman, and it's unflinching. It's very. I mean, it's not terribly graphic compared to nowadays, but you see what's going on, and it's rough. Like, it's not. It is not fun. It is not like, and it just keeps like boom, 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 and then when you think it's done, she's like kind of walking back. They get her again, it just keeps going.
They invade the safe space of the house as well, which makes that's even more disturbing. I think this inside the house, and also I think a testament to the quality of the writing is that you learn more about those characters, the male characters, and her during this period of time, like who feels the most embittered towards women, who has a lot of deep-seated anger towards women, and why, and what he wants out of that. And then obviously you learn more about Matthew and his personality and the things that he's conflicted with and what's going on with him. And the other two guys are kind of split to and fro between being absolutely horrible and then going, that's enough, we need to stop. Oh no, and then back to being terrible again, because they're easily led. They're just like, he's the boss, you know, we'll just do it. And the stuff, I think anything inside a house, and home invasion movies have just absolutely blown up in the years after this film. Because that's where we're supposed to feel safe. And I know it's not her home, but she's worked so hard to get back there and get away from them, and then there they are again. And there's no one gonna save her. As much as films and the world and our own wants, we'd love for somebody to come in and just blast those guys with a big shotgun. That's not going to happen.
No.
And it's really hard. That's a long time, 25 minutes of
screen time. So so it's even longer in real time. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. And she definitely shows that, like, she's just like an inch away from death, really, isn't she? If not physically, then certainly mentally, she's just.
Oh yeah, it's like she's just completely ravaged, and it's sad, and it's awful, and it's
and
there's
I don't think nothing sexual about it, really. I don't think.
No,
it's the least sexual thing ever. If someone's watching that and thinking, "Oh man, this is great," then they're in. I'd really worry for them.
Yeah,
it's
definitely. Yeah, it's definitely shown in that way for sure, and it's and as it should, because it's not, you know. But yeah, it is brutal. It's hard to watch, but I do think it's necessary for the movie. I don't think is it gratuitous? Yes, but I think it works within the context of the movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we need to see these characters in almost animals in the wilderness at
their worst.
Yeah, they are like they're like base animals. They've something has snapped inside them from that moment they got off that boat. That they may have never done anything like this, and I imagine they haven't, or had the opportunity to. I suppose. I guess that's the thing, isn't it? I don't know. It's everything's kind of come together in the opposite of a perfect storm, and it just happened, you know, like bad, and they're not really decisions, they're just things that happen. Like I say, like an animal doesn't make a decision to like pounce on a lion, like on a gazelle or something. They just do it, and they've completely lost their humanity. And in order, like you say, in order for the film to work, they can't have any redeeming features. And they don't.
They really don't.
They fucking like I'm just like watching that and looking away, and then watching back and going, there needs to be some fucking revenge. Like I think I might have messaged you and said these guys need to fucking die.
Yes.
That was it. I was like, they need to die. Like that's not how I am in my everyday life, but this is a film of extremes. And it's fiction, but it feels, like we said before, feels very real. So in order for me to want to watch on, I need to see some bad shit happen to these guys, basically, to put it succinctly.
Right. So, and this was the first time you've watched it, correct?
Yeah.
So,
so I had heard of it.
Seen it before.
No, and do you know, and again, going back to one of our conversations, I'd somehow conflated it with Cannibal Holocaust in my head, mainly because I don't know why, because maybe I heard kids talking about both films at the same time, or people then talking about them at the same time as examples of video nasties. Two things that I would like people who watch my channel, and you know, from me, like, and from things I say on the podcast, all of things, like I find anything with animals in it really hard to watch. Even something like Marley and Me, because it's like something sad's going to happen to a dog.
Right.
Spoiler, but like so Cannibal Holocaust I'd heard things about. I'd heard things about this as well. However, I'd watched Night Train to Murder. I didn't make it all the way through Last House on the Left. That just wasn't for me. And from reading into it and listening to podcasts and watching interviews with Wes Craven, I don't think it was for him either. Like he wasn't that. He probably would have told me to stop at the moment I stopped it. But I think what it was, I knew a lot about how the actresses had been treated, like I said before. Whereas in this film, I knew from my research that Camille Keaton was fully on board with this as a creative endeavor and understood it and was part of the decision making. And I think that's really important in order for it to work. Otherwise, it becomes not exploitation like we're talking exploitation films, but exploitative of her as an actress rather than as the character. Whereas in this, it's obviously it's probably not very pleasant for her acting this part, but I think she knew exactly what they were going for. She was involved, deeply in the film. So it needs that female perspective, I think, for it to work as well as it does.
They finish the assault. They finally leave. And there's a whole, like I said, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of it because it is disturbing, and YouTube probably would not like me talking about it. So, so anyway, so the boys go back, and then they eventually come to the realization that what they've done is so heinous that there's only one solution to all of it, and that they have to go back and kill her so she doesn't rat them out. So they rope in poor Matthew to go back and do it. And so he goes back, and he's hesitant the whole time anyway. He doesn't want to do this. And so he goes back, and he kind of fakes it. And what I mean is, he goes back and he sees her on the ground, and he has the knife, and he's like, I don't want to do it. So he just kind of wipes some of her blood onto the knife to pretend that he did it when he goes back to the boys. So again, slightly redeemable act, but you still like by this point you just like, no, screw all these guys. Like this
no one's going
beyond.
No one's going like, oh, he's the good one. Like, no one's thinking that. Like, he's been manipulated, but he is now he's got what he wanted. He's in that group. He's with those boys. He is linked to them. Also, I guess in a way, he is then the weakest link in that group.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
So
true. Yeah.
So like you say, no one's like, oh, poor guy. We're past that stage. We're past that stage quite early in the film. So like you say, all of these guys, we're done with them. He is completely and utterly attached to that group now. But he also, like you say, he knows enough to know that murder is the worst thing that they could that he could
right, and at least he knows that is wrong. Like at least he knows something. Unlike the other three, like, go kill her.
But who knows what's going on in his head? Whether he thinks he's now in love with her, because of what's happened, and like he's got an attachment to her, and like there's synapses firing off in all different directions with him. It also now sets up the rest of the film, doesn't it? It's like very clear that this is the next step. But I don't think they rush the revenge, because they put quite a lot into the build up of her getting back on her feet.
So basically now, like she showers and she kind of gets back. She tries to go back to normal, kind of. And it takes a little bit. It does, because and she's of course scarred for life now, So it's not an easy road traveling back to normalcy, quote unquote.
No, and she doesn't just leave and get in her car and go like I imagine 99% of people in that position would do. Who knows? Who am I to say? I don't know what people would do in that position. But she stays, and it's like a kind of bit by bit rebuilding of herself mentally, physically. She's observing them. She's working it. She's
she goes. She's sort of like an investigator, and she just kind of goes and watches all of them in the background, and she observes how they are and what they're doing, and so she eventually forms sort of a plan.
I'm still nervous for her at this point. I'm still worrying on her behalf that her plan is going to go completely wrong.
Right.
Like I don't know if people just watch it and think, oh great, this is the revenge part. But when she pulls up to, I think it's the gas station, and gets him to get in the car, or when she's doing, not so much with Matthew, I feel like I knew she was going to outsmart Matthew. Right. Didn't have any of that. But when she was with some of the other guys, I was a bit like, oh, I don't know if this is we're going to end up with another 20 minutes of horrible assault again.
Right.
In which
especially
case
if they're all together again too. Like her against all four of them, like that.
Yeah. And she's super smart, and like I feel like she, in her head, like you said, she's formulated a plan. I feel she's got plans for every eventuality. Maybe she hasn't, but she makes me think that in the way she acts it out, because she, like you say, she's like almost like a private investigator taking steps, or like a hunter, like she's the hunter now. And I guess it was around the middle part, or the assault part, where crew members left. And
yes, there was apparently a crew member that left while they were filming that. It was a makeup artist. Right. And they said they couldn't take any more of the violence.
Yeah.
So that just shows you how intense it was on set too.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no way around it when you're shooting things like that. No. It's interesting that everyone's come out of it, particularly Camille Keaton and other people, with a very measured and like almost academic response to being in the film. There's no one, like I said before, there's nobody like saying Last House on the Left going, this actor really took liberties and was really scary and horrible in real life. Or I've not heard any of those things. In fact, like the only people who really took, obviously that makeup artist and like Siskel and Ebert, is it Ebert or Ebert? Ebert, like they were basically like, don't watch this film. We don't like any films that have women in danger in this way, because they were so offended by people laughing and cheering during the film. Now, I don't know, and I did some reading on that. I don't know what part they were laughing and cheering at, because I've been in movie theaters where people are laughing and cheering at parts of films that are morally reprehensible, and I'm like, is this awkwardness? Is this embarrassment? Is this you're all in a group together? Is this one-upmanship? I don't know what it is. And there's nothing more frustrating than being sat in a cinema where everyone's responding to a film, especially one you've watched before, maybe, responding to a film in a way that is, from your point of view, not from theirs, but from your point of view, wrong. like people. I went to see Gremlins, and people were laughing at the wrong bits, and it really angered me. And I was just like, that's not funny. But they were just kind of like in their own way, just saying, I like Gremlins. But in this one, that audience reaction that must have upset Siskel and Ebert, I don't know. I wonder what part. I've never seen this in a theater. I don't know what it would be like. I've never seen a film like this in a theater.
Well, from what I remember reading, I think one of them said that they were laughing during the assault scene.
Right. Wow.
So
okay.
that
would upset you, but that's anger at the crowd, not at the filmmaker.
It's not. It's not funny. It's not portrayed that way whatsoever.
Some people
I
are
don't
just
know.
like, you know,
Yeah, I
boobs,
don't know.
haha. You know, they just laugh when they see
Maybe.
boobs.
I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
I can understand that might. But that's really not the filmmaker's fault. The filmmaker doesn't choose how the audience respond to it. They obviously try and manipulate it and understand it, because that's what making
Right.
a film is. You're trying to get people to understand your vision in the way you intended it.
Yeah.
But the idea of being angry at a filmmaker because people were laughing at the wrong part of the film that's not something you can put at his doorstep. And I feel there are much more. There are many more films, should I say? There are many more films that deserve that sort of treatment than this.
Yeah.
Because I think if they're intelligent guys, and I've read Roger Ebert's book, and he's clearly an intelligent guy and made a few B movies himself, or wrote a few B movies himself.
Right.
Surely he can understand the artistic side of this film, and the morals of the director, and the morals of the actors, and the thought process that went into it. Surely, I just don't call me Shirley, but I just don't. I don't get that. I don't get why people would come out against this film in particular, unless it was just in isolation. We really don't like seeing those things happen to people on screen. I can get that, but laughing at the wrong part, I don't really understand that.
That's beyond me as well. I don't get that at all. But so let's start talking about what she ends up doing. So after she investigates, she goes after Matthew first.
Pick off the weakest.
So I think this was sort of her testing ground. It was like, all right, if I can get through this.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, like picking off the one that's on the outside of the flock, and just taking that injured, weak sheep and going, come over here, and then.
Plus, the group had at this point kind of ostracized Matthew anyway, and kind of walked away from him.
Yeah.
So Matthew was very easy pickings here.
They know he's going to be the one that gets them in trouble, don't they?
Right.
But they can't really do much about it other than, like, I guess, kill him. Which I don't think they're going to do that.
No. So she lures Matthew to the house, and she basically seduces him. And as she does that, she gets her revenge. She basically hangs him with his pants down, and for the whole deal. And it was, I thought it was quite impressive what she did right here.
Yeah. Were you saying that actually it could work? I was thinking maybe I didn't understand the mechanics of it, because for me, I felt like, from a seated position, would she be able? I don't know why I was thinking of this. Would she be able to pull a whole grown man and have the leverage to do it? But then was maybe the way it was wrapped around, or the way she.
Yeah, next thing I'm not real good with the physics and dynamics of all that.
I'm not.
But I do know in theory that can work. I don't know if the way they did in the movie would work, but I do know the intent.
And again, I don't even know why I bring that up, because it doesn't bother me in the slightest.
But it must on some level.
It must do, because I brought it up twice. It's like, this just doesn't work. I have a friend who's like that. Who's like, he's out if things, it could be like, I was like, yeah, but that's like a, alien spacecraft from the planet Zog. Like, that doesn't exist either.
Yeah.
So yeah, the sort of killing of Matthew, she has been completely numbed by what's happened, because she still uses her sexuality to entice and lure and collect these men, and then enact a thing, which again is really sad that she can do that. Really sad that she has to do that in her mind, but also she has become more dangerous through what has happened to her. It has made it it's like that, it's like an old tagline from an 80s film or something. It's like, when you've got nothing to lose, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a Seagal tagline. But it's genuinely true. Like, she has nothing and that's why she's so dangerous, because she
Pretty
will
much.
mess you up.
like her life mission now is to get revenge on these 4 guys.
Yeah.
Like that's all she's thinking about. The book is on hold. Her life is on hold. This is her mission. This is what she's doing.
And as we know from the sequel, the book's a smash hit.
It is,
but it's
it is.
But she names all the people that she kills in the book, and oh my word, you wouldn't. And people are like, "What a great book! I really enjoyed it. Did you really?
Make a good movie."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, so then after Matthew, she goes kind of for the head honcho. She goes for Johnny. So this is the gas station attendant guy, and this is probably the most elaborate that she goes. I thought. Yeah. She completely seduces him. She brings him into the house. She's giving him a bath. It's this whole big thing. And now remember, this guy's married. He has a kid. No, kids, I should say.
Yeah, and we see them.
Yeah, you actually see him when she's investigating. Like, there's a whole scene with him and the wife and the kid.
There's a little bit of like his wife is the boss, you know.
Oh, definitely.
So there's a little bit of that, and like, kind of just to explain why he is so I like my women like this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's these little clues and little things in there.
Yeah, so she knows she has this power, and she uses it to the fullest here. Yeah. So basically, what happens here is that they're taking a bath together, and she basically castrates him.
Yeah.
In the tub.
That's
blood everywhere.
I was going to say chops his willy off, but yeah, that's fine too. Yeah, that sounds a lot more. If we were like serious film critics, I guess we would say that. Yeah. But no, I didn't flinch on his behalf or any of those things, because I was just like fuck that guy.
Yeah, at this point, it's like hell yeah, girl, you do your thing, you know.
Yeah, and when she puts the music on and she sat downstairs, and he's so pathetic. He's so pathetic. The things he said, obviously, you know.
Yeah. So afterwards, she goes downstairs because the bath is upstairs, and he's upstairs writhing in pain. He's like, oh, and he's so loud.
Yeah. He's shouting for his mother, I think, is he?
Yeah, all kind of wacky stuff.
There's a lot of digging to be done there, isn't it? Like somebody could do something like that, and then when they're in, you know, the things that he did, but when it comes down to it, he's crying for his mother.
There you go.
Wow, yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But I love her response is fantastic. She goes downstairs, she's chilling, and to drown him out, she puts on a record. To drown him out.
Yep.
To drown him. Wow. And she just sits there and she's just like, mm-hmm. And it's like, it's such a badass moment.
Yeah.
That it's like all right, she's going to be okay, but it's just getting there. And it's a really, I think that's one of my favorite moments in the movie. She just sits there and she's just like, mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure it was my favorite, but it's like a very smart and calculated and deserving moment that needs to happen in the film.
It's definitely a celebratory moment. It's like,
yeah, oh yeah, for sure, because he's probably the most dangerous. So we need to tick him off the list and dispose of him, or at least part of him. But for me. We'll move on, but I think when she is using the boat as a weapon is when she's at her most like rah moment,
which is next. So
yeah.
So again, she kind of lures them in too, because she's all swinging on the hammock in her bikini, you know, being all like
it's like reminding them of what happened before, and
Yeah, so they come in the boat, and they get off. And does she hijack the boat? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. He reaches out to her. He's on she's got her own boat, I think, and he has a different boat. And she knocks the boat. She gets onto his boat.
That's right. Yeah.
And she's like, hugging him and like he's like, oh, this is nice. And then she pushes him overboard, and that's when the fun starts, basically.
Yeah, and then she uses the boat as this lovely weapon, this lovely edged weapon. And
yes. Do you know they don't survive edged weapons?
No one survives edged weapons.
But there's moments there again. When you said about her lying there at the side of the like, I think the what the guy who's in the bath, was that Andy?
The one in the bath is Johnny.
He talks about her being like almost like bait and wanting these things, and again when she's doing the thing to get their attention, it's kind of playing on that. Like, these guys are quite willing to go into their minds and think that she enjoyed that and she would like more of it, which is insane. For them to think that.
What? Like, So none of these guys are think straight. Like they don't think correctly. They're all off in some kind of way.
Yeah, like big dumb animals, basically.
Yeah, big dumbasses. Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so she ends up getting her revenge using the boat motor onto Andy and Stanley in kind of different ways.
Yeah, and it's really creative with that. It's really visceral in the same way as the bath, as the same way as Matthew. Like each of the kills is really cool. Each of them individually are really cool in the sense of you feel they are appropriate for what these men have done. And, we talk about them being like big dumb animals or big dumbasses and things like that. They are like uneducated guys, I imagine, but that's not the reason they are a victim of the circumstances that they're in that have created this kind of, macho idiots who have maybe seen things and have been able to debase and dehumanize women because they are so insecure and they have nothing about themselves. Like they've got no pride in themselves other than what they can put other people through. And when she's on that boat smashing into them with the rotor blades, it is awesome. It is so cool. And because she keeps coming back, she's not afraid. She's just like,
she's just head first, just boom. Yeah. And it's very rewarding for us, for the audience. It's very it's like if when it happens, it's just like
I needed it. I really needed it.
Yeah,
because I was messaging you as
stress we needed.
Yeah, and as I was going through and messaging you during watching the film and different points, and I think I'd started it and then watched the rest of it a bit later because of different things like having to go to bed and things, sleep, and I know, I was like, gotta go to bed. Well, 5 more minutes. I've got to watch. I Spit on Your Grave, but I'm so glad that those things happened to those characters. It is a really well-made film in the sort of orchestration of all the parts. So
it really, and actually, so this is like really the third time I've watched it all the way through, like from beginning to end, and really, well, this time, of course, I really paid attention, but the more I watch it, like the better it gets. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I can see that. You're getting a deeper appreciation for the how the film's made. It's like reading a book and just picking out a little part of the book that you just shot past the first time you watched it because you wanted to get to the important the key or important parts of the story. And that's what makes a film a really great film, is the different readings of it. So I totally get that you will have got more out of it. It might be a while before I watch it again, but I don't own a lot of, like, as you know, I sold a lot of my collection, a lot of my everything that I had really without just getting rid of the things that had real emotional attachments to me. This is one that I've actually considered buying a copy of and owning it. Maybe if there's like a special edition or something like that, just because I think it deserves to sit alongside some of the great films,
Right.
great films on Matthew's shelf. Wow, what an honor! But but yeah, I do think they are. I do think it is a. If people just think every video nasty is just going to be a certain thing, then this sets you on a different path straight away. It was a really interesting one for us to choose as our first one.
It is, and I wanted to start with one of the more notorious ones, just to get us going and get us excited for the rest of them.
I can understand that if people have been through real life trauma or been around people who've been through real life trauma, this would be really hard, even harder to watch, possibly impossible to watch.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see a bunch of people not being able to get through the movie. Absolutely, 100%, and I totally understand and I totally get it.
Yeah, there's no judgment. I think with that, I think like it's not a competition to see what can we endure that triggers off horrible things in our minds. It's just like some people don't want to go through something again, or don't want to feel that way, or feel real empathy for the character, and don't want to feel what she's feeling, or even what they're feeling. I guess if they're sort of gore averse as well.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
So this movie made the Time Magazine's top 10 ridiculously violent movies list. I don't know what the other ones are, but I know this one made it.
Ridiculously.
Which I guess I get it. I mean, it is violent in more ways than one.
So it's like I watched Night of the Demon recently. Have you seen Night of the Demon? The Sasquatch.
Oh, the Sasquatch one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A long time ago I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's penis related injury in that.
Oh
as
yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
But I guess that doesn't make Time's list because they're against Sasquatch.
Right. Yeah. Maybe so.
Yeah. Man, I think Time Magazine needs to be a little bit more open to films about Bigfoot.
I am all pro Bigfoot.
Yeah. I got a little
we're all pro Bigfoot here.
But a badge. Yeah. The Bigfoot Defense League.
So the one other thing I did want to mention is the cover of the movie, which is this right here with of course it's only kind of half of it, but with the lady here. This is obviously not Camille Keaton, because Camille Keaton is very skinny, and I mean she's a very attractive lady. Don't get me wrong, but she doesn't. She's
kind of willowy, isn't she?
She doesn't fill out a thing quite like this.
No, she's like willowy, like a kind of what's the girl from Carrie called?
Sissy Spacek.
Yeah, she's kind of like a sort of mid-20s.
Like yeah. But so the model on the poster is actually Demi Moore.
Oh.
Yes. So when producer Charles Band of Full Moon fame,
Charlie, my man,
bought the video rights in America in 1981, he basically wanted this shot, and he was like, well, Camille's not going to work for this. So Demi was working on a movie of his at the time. It's one of her first movies, and he got her to pose for it.
Do you know what? I listened to his audiobook of his autobiography, and I remember him talking about Demi Moore, but he may have even talked about this, but I was probably not paying attention because at this point I'd not seen the film, so it meant nothing to me. But now you say it, that sounds very familiar. Yeah, he's such a great opportunist, smart business man.
Yes.
The fact that the Full Moon is still doing things now.
Oh, it's still around. It's still
making money.
Yeah,
the guy's gone VHS all the way.
So with the combination of the name change and the new poster, the movie blew up even more. Basically.
Yeah, it makes sense. Now you've told me the pieces, it makes perfect sense that it kind of went massive in terms of people watching it and buying it. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So it's I'm glad we watched it, and I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad that I watched it all the way through as well.
Yeah, I think it's an important movie. I think I also get why it's on the nasty list.
Yeah.
But it's gruesome, it's brutal, it's all the things you've heard about it. Yes,
That's true. Yeah,
it's very true.
Maybe the only thing people, if you just list those things, you don't get the right impression of the film.
You don't, and I hope that this show kind of brought you to realize that this is actually a very well made movie, and it's worth seeing. If you can, I recommend trying to watch it. If you can, if you can't, totally get it, and I do not blame you at all. But yeah, I think we chose a good one for the first one because it's a good movie, and it's out there. It's just so I think this was a good first try.
Definitely, yeah. I'm looking forward to going down that list.
We are going to go down that rabbit hole and see how far we can dig.
Let's keep going. Yeah, let's keep digging. There's going to be some absolute stinkers as well. I know that for a fact.
Oh, there's going to be some awful movies that we're going to chat about, and it's going to be fun.
I kind of can't wait for that either. I'm sort of more excited for the absolute stinkers than I am for the ones that are like forgotten works of art.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, guys. All right, we're going to get out of here. Enjoy I Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah,
I guess it's
watch. Endure. Yeah. No. Watch it. Watch it. It is a great film. It is a genuinely great film. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So until next time, adios, Bella Lugosi.